Hey, Kirk.
How you doing, lads?
Good. How are you?
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
Let's see what's going on up here.
So is your background Budapest there, Kirk?
It's Heidelberg, Germany. Where it is. It's a bridge over the river there at Heidelberg.
We, as I recall, did not go into Heidelberg, but kind of went on a ring road around it. We
were there for about a day.
That's a beautiful city.
Yeah. Up on the hill, up on the top on the hill there where the castle was, and then down below there's a lot of big university there, a lot of students there.
Right.
Isn't it famous for being the university where young German men would go with their swords and have duels, and it was a badge of honor to have a scar?
Yeah. They talked about that when we were there. Yeah.
So yes, there has been progress made. It doesn't seem so sometimes, but we don't have duels in the park anymore.
No.
Nope. Now they're all on video.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, Doug.
Hi. Hi there.
Hi, Tommy.
Hey.
Hi, Janie.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, Jenny.
Hi, Doug.
Thanks for the notes, Doug. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Hi, Don.
Hello, Kirk. How are you?
Doing good.
Good. Thank you for keep giving us the polio updates. That's really,
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Good.
yeah.
Are you Dawn?
I'm Dawn. Hi, are
Hi,
you
Dawn.
Ray?
I'm Ray, but
Hi.
I have to tell you, I'm having computer issues. And so right now I'm logged in with my phone.
Right.
I'm hoping my computer is going to come back up. What I'd like to know is, do you know how to do a share screen from the phone? Because I can do that.
I don't.
You know what? We have a couple experts who might be able to help. Let's see if anybody is on.
Okay, I may not need to. The computer is now booting.
Is now on.
Yeah, I came back in and it just had a dark screen. I was like, oh God, no, of all times. And I 30 minutes ago. I mean, 30 minutes ago, I was in the room with it. So I think maybe I'm going to be okay. I'm still working.
Hooray.
I'm working on this, baby.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming and doing the talk too.
Oh, it is my pleasure. I am so passionate. We spent such a long time, doing the research on it, and to be able to share that has really been awesome. So doesn't
Hi,
want
Ray.
to. Who's that?
Tommy?
Hi, Tommy. Hi. Yeah, I'm having trouble because I'm on my phone and I don't
I
know how
get
to.
it. I've been there.
Oh, so now maybe I'm gonna get a log on screen in a second. Oh God, this is so good. Do you know how to do oh, maybe that's it. None blur video
Well,
calling.
so are you now back off of your computer and onto your phone?
I'm still on the phone. I'm trying to log on to the computer at this very second. Okay.
Don't we love technical difficulties?
Oh, yeah, they're great.
Wouldn't have been so bad if I had to clean up poop from my cat in my dining room, and
Oh,
Oh, that's exactly what I say. It drew me away from the computer for the half hour.
I can't see anybody.
My poor cat is like 18 years old.
oh,
Lots of issues.
oh.
So that's what I'm dealing with. So I'm getting the welcome screen. So it allowed me to log on. I just don't have anything there yet. So I'm
I
working.
see that we have Sally on. Sally is quite a good expert. Sally, Ray is having a little trouble with share screen or her computer in general, and she wanted to know if there was a way that she could share screen via her phone.
Well, what kind of phone do you have?
Not an iPhone.
Not
The
an
other
iPhone.
phone.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
Well, I'm just,
almost. Go ahead.
I'm going to just look on my phone how I do it.
Okay. I know there's got to be a way. I just don't know what it is.
Do you want to send me whatever you're sharing and I could share for you via email?
I might just do that. It's just jumping around.
That might be the safest way to do it, Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me,
Sally, give Ray your email maybe, and
I'll put it in the chat. Can you get it in the chat or do you want me to say it out loud?
Oh, say it out loud. I
no,
think
I
it's
can get,
easier.
I can get from the chat. If I can just, it's on my
It's in the chat
computer. I
now.
just, my stupid email won't allow me to. Oh, it's coming.
The sign of success.
Just a second. This is like so stupid. I hate technology when it doesn't work. Ooh, I got a bing, bing, bing. Log on inside this e-navigator. I am so apologetic right now.
Don't worry.
That's
You know
okay.
what? Just focus on it. Don't worry. Because
When
when you stress out, just take care of it. We can tell a
Okay.
joke. Let's see. I have only inappropriate jokes.
Oh, well, you can't tell an inappropriate joke, Sally. Come on.
Okay, so
maybe we should start the meeting as Ray is working on this.
no. Okay. I have to find it again. Just a second. Human trafficking presentation. I am going to send it to you in just a second.
That's a
Okay.
good backup anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. And are you able to get my email out of the chat or would you like me to say it?
Actually, if you can say it, it'll be right there in your hands.
All right. So my name is Sally Snyder and it's S.A. Snyder, which is SASNYDER
Uh-huh.
at roguecc, ROGUECC.edu.
Rogue PC as in Paul.
Sorry, CC as in community college.
Oh, okay. .edu.
Correct.
And it's coming on its merry way. Let me know when you get it. There's no subject. I will tell you that.
I can handle that.
Okay. And I may be able to log on. What is wrong with my stupid computer?
I got it. Don't worry
You
about it.
did.
Let's get going and I can share and be your clicker, advancer.
Perfect.
Okay.
So I just need to open mine up so I can see it. Okay.
Okay.
Good. And if I
What I'm
can
going to
get
do is I'm going to
on,
mute everybody and start the meeting. Welcome, everybody. Okay. Welcome to our last Rotary meeting in January. Where's the month gone? It's been a busy month, but a good month. Another good month for our club. Hope it's gone well for our members. Jan Jones, would you like to start us off with a pledge, please? See.
I don't know if Jan's here. I will lead us. Please join
Great.
me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Sally. Good save for number 2 of the program of the day. Thank you. Jim Huber, our inspiration for the day.
Thank you. This is from a speech by Teddy Roosevelt from 1910. It's commonly referred to as the Man in the Arena speech. And it uses the word man a lot, but I want to dedicate it to all of us. So it's the men and the women, not just the men. Okay, here we go. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. But there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement? And who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I often think of my dad when I hear that. We always referred to him as the man in the arena, and we talked about that speech often, including his funeral. So it's very memorable for me as well. Thank you. Very powerful talk. For Rotary Minute, virtually, and this is about classifications in Rotary. And virtually all membership in Rotary is based upon a classification. Basically, a classification describes the distinct district and recognized business professional service that the Rotarian renders to society. The principal Rotary classification is more specific and precise and determined the classification of a Rotarian. It's necessary to look at the principal or the recognized business professional activity of the firm, company, or institution for which an active member is connected, and which covers the active member's principal and recognized business or professional activity. And it should be understood that the classifications are determined by the activities or services rather than position held. So for example, if a person is president of a bank, he is not classified as a bank president, but under the classification of banking. And the classification principle is a necessary concept in ensuring that each Rotary Club represents a cross-section of the business and professional service of the community. The goal of the vocational classification today is not to restrict membership classifications, but rather the purpose is to make sure that we have a diverse vocational classification at our club. We should look at classifications to ask ourselves, should we be looking at a particular vocation for our club when looking for prospective members? And you may have heard about the rule of 85 in Rotary. And this basically says that with board approval, a Rotarian with at least 65 years of age and the aggregate of their years of service with their age equal to or greater than 85 will be excused from attendance. This is a way for Rotary to recognize that a member's past service to the club and allow them to continue being considered for active membership when they may not be able to attend all the meetings. In past years, this also opened up the vocational classification to new members. And so oftentimes, we'll hear about this classification, the rule of 85, and kind of gives an idea of what this was and why it's important in our vocational service. It's really to make sure that we do have a wide range of Rotarians and vocations. Okay, there's no Santi healthcare update, and Valerie's having trouble getting the meeting, so I'm going to skip her for right now. She needs a meeting link, and I'm going to send that.
I'm just going to jump in. I just found it. I tell you, I've been
Congratulations.
20 minutes. I know. Jeez, it's incredible how many emails one receives in a few days. I don't know how I found it, but I do have a brief update. And so because I wasn't here last week, I actually want to make sure I get it because we did have strategic planning. And I just want to give you an update of our top goals that came out of strategic planning. Our number one goal, and I was just at a meeting about it, is to find a permanent funding source for public safety. We are considering, I know that I'm talking about going out for a levy or something for their sheriff's deputies. The city, of course, has been working for years at constantly having to ask for a levy. So I think we're going to try to come up with some idea how to solve the constant ask for public safety in Southern Oregon. I mean, join city and county and see if we can come up with something together. So you'll hear more about it moving forward, but that was our number one goal. was that. We also, our second goal was to facilitate a managed urban campground. Once again, we're hoping and we're very excited to have Rogue Retreat on board with us, and we will be discussing property going forward. So that's our number one goal. We kind of came up with a fun goal, and that was to look at the creation of a kayak whitewater park here in Grants Pass. I think that's been in the past, it's been there. One of our counselors was very passionate about it and rallied a bunch of support for that. So that was something that we will be looking at in the future. And then using urban renewal funds to look at Redwood Hotel, appropriate resources to keep our parks safe, clean, and maintained for public use. And then to develop and look into transitional housing through some sort of a program similar to turnkey, which is another, that's where you find a hotel that is willing to sell, and then to do the top step on Rogue Retreat has one in Medford, where they turn some of those motel rooms into suites as a top tier for helping people get out of homelessness. So those are the things we talked about. We still have a lot going on. We talked about the swimming pool at our Monday meeting, and we said to go ahead and turn it over, hire some engineering firm to give us a cost, because we were talking about funding, but until we know what's going to cost, we need step one. So we propose that, yes, use money that we have already to come up with what the swimming pool is going to cost, and then we'll talk about funding, because we have several options. And we also have put together a task force, a climate task force. And so those applications are in, and we're in the process of putting together the climate task force. And we also have a task force about Caveman Plaza. The development of that, possibly using urban renewal funding. What are our options? And I think that closed as well, but that's also something we will be working on in the next few weeks. So so I saw right here, isn't a water park coming to Medford? Yes, they actually do have a huge facility for swimming pools and in Medford coming, but we still would like to have our community swim pool, Caveman Pool, that we've had forever for the people in our area and for our swim team. And it is on its final legs. I think we are going to look to try to have it open this year. But we are at the same time trying to get something moving forward to have our own pool here in Grants Pass for our local kids and our local swim teams. So, any other questions? I don't see any questions, so I'll say stay tuned. I'll keep you more informed as we move forward.
Okay.
Okay.
For healthcare, I do see that I put it in the infographic in the newsletter. We're 104 patients with COVID at all three Asante hospitals. Yesterday, I believe that's the latest update, which is it's still a very large number. Let's see, Shelter Box. I was amazed and very pleased for the support of Shelter Box at last week's meeting. It's an amazing club, and I talked about at the beginning of our newsletter this week, the generosity of our club, whether it be time, resources, ideas. Just I appreciate everybody's support for Shelter Box and everything else that everyone does for the club. There's a lot of information in the Navigator this week. I won't have time to list it all, but there's a link in there if you want to order COVID test kits. There's an updated event calendar of what's some upcoming events for our club and our district. So I encourage you to take a look there. And if there's something missing, let me know and we'll add it for next week's meeting. And somebody was asking about closed captioning. That also is a feature available on Zoom. If you click on the live transcript at the bottom, for me, it's at the bottom of the menu, but it might be available in different places on Zoom. But that allows you to read along, and it does a pretty accurate job as far as reading the events. Some members like that as far as using Zoom. Super Bowl pool. Greg, would you like to give an update on the Super Bowl pool, please? Is Greg here?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. We have filled the first grid. The first pool is full. I'll try to run that next weekend, this coming weekend. so you can actually see where your squares are. Those of you who have already joined. And those of you who have joined and want a second chance, you can get more chances by continuing to donate and getting into the second pool. And if you haven't had a chance yet, that's still going to be open. The other big news is that we are going to have a virtual watch party. You don't have to be present to win, but we're going to have door prizes. We're going to relate those to the score every time a team scores, and whatever would have been the winning square at that time, we'll have a choice of a door prize. And the advertisements, Janie's going to get me a list of the local advertisers, and I go on a business magazine to get the list of the national advertisers. And we'll give out those company names to each of the persons that have donated and gotten squares. So again, you don't have to be there, but we will be sending an email around after the game that tells you what order you can pick your door prizes in. And Patty Toronto is going to be organizing door prizes. So if you have any ideas, whether it's a gag gift or whether it's something related to football or whether it's just something you've cleaned up off of your bookshelf or whatever, Patty will tell you if we can use it. And we already have some Duck Derby swag from Janie, and Patty has donated a couple bottles of wine, and we have other things starting to come in. We also have all of the points that we've donated for the matching. We'll have an additional 25 points of Paul Harris recognition points that you could match if you'd like to choose that. So at the close of the game, we'll send the email around. It'll tell you you have the first pick, and you'll pick something, and then everybody on the next person on the list will pick, and we'll just go down until everyone that's won a prize will have chosen one of the door prizes. So look forward to that, and we'll do our best to make it happen. Questions?
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you, Greg. Thanks for everything you're doing to make this successful. Another year to help out the Rotary Foundation.
Caver.
Well, okay, I see a question.
Caver had a question? Or?
Yes.
Where'd you go?
She's muted.
She's muted.
Steve, if you click on ask to unmute on
There
her
we go.
tile.
Okay, we got it. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm doing my best. How do we provide door prizes?
Contact Patty, let her know what you have. If it's, she's going to make a decision about whether she wants to collect some of them or just leave them with you. And then when the person that comes up with their turn for having won one chooses the one that you donated, then either you two will get together or the person will come to, and Patty will come together if it's something small enough that she can handle.
Okay, thank you. And thank you. And real quick, I'm sorry, I know you've said it a million times. I'm having a real hard time with the donation parts.
Oh.
Can you just really quickly tell me how to do that, or do you want to talk offline?
It's in the Navigator.
Navigator, okay.
You can go to myrotary.org and there should
Is
be
it
a
on
way-
the email that Steve sends out?
Yes, well, it's in the email that has the Navigator in it.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay, let me know if you have anything else. Okay, send me a
Thank you.
text or email.
Okay. Any other questions?
Put your email in.
Okay. Thank you both. Okay, appreciate that. Dawn, for introduction of our speaker today on human trafficking, would you like to introduce our speaker and how this came about, please?
Well, the Springfield Club had been working on researching information about human trafficking. And they created a presentation to be made available to any Rotarians as a program. And Ray LaMarche is the person who is representing, Ray waved, who is representing the club and is going to share what they learned when the club did their research. Thank you, and take it away.
Thank you. And first of all, Sally, I am now up on my computer, so I should be able to share, if I can have share screen capabilities, I'll be able to do the program right from here. I'll wait just a second. Yep. Okay, and share. Okay, and hold on. What is this little thing's problem? Slideshow. Okay, from the beginning. Okay, so first of all, can you all see that? One person could say yes.
Yes.
We're good. Okay. I want to thank President Steve, and I want to thank Dawn for making the arrangements so that I can come down and talk to you about human trafficking. This came about originally as a result of the Rotary International Convention in Atlanta in 2017, where we had two speakers. One was Rebecca Bender, who, of course, is originally from Southern Oregon, from Grants Pass, I think, originally. She's now in Texas. And the other speaker was Ashton Kutcher, the actor, who talked about what he is doing personally in the development of an app of some sort to help find and identify traffickers. So that is how it came about. I sat on it for 4 years on this information, didn't take it to my club, didn't do much with it, and finally just said, I really think we need to do something, and I don't know what it looks like, and I don't know what it sounds like. And so a few members of the club decided to work with me. We started this last March, knowing nothing. And what we're going to share with you is what we have learned as a result. The information that went out in your e-navigator talks a lot about the Department of the Protection. I can't even think of the name of it. The federal government that is working on this, if somebody remembers that name. Pardon me?
DHS, isn't it? Department of Human Services, I believe.
It's not the Department of Human Services. It's Homeland Security. That's it.
Yep.
Thank you. Department of Homeland Security is also working really hard on sharing information nationwide. And they've done quite a huge Facebook campaign, as well as they have sent information. I know locally in the Eugene area, they've sent it to the buses and other transportation folk. That being said, this and that complement each other, but they don't replace each other. So I just want to share what we have found out. Starting with the screen in front of you. When I first started looking for images about human trafficking, I found that most of them show somebody being held against their will, the hand up like I can't get away, the mouth being covered, I cannot speak. And a lot of that is the myth of human trafficking. So during this presentation, I'm going to share with you some of the facts of human trafficking, coupled with myths and realities of human trafficking. What are the factors that lead somebody to be trafficked? What does a trafficked individual potentially look like? And finally, where can you go and what can you do as an individual or as a Rotary club? I also know that this can be a very sensitive subject. If it's something that you've had experience with in the past, or you've had abuse in your past or whatever, feel free to drop off. I would understand. Feel free to take a break. Okay. So what is human trafficking? Human trafficking is the recruitment, harboring, transporting, obtaining, or maintaining of a person by means of force, possibly fraud or coercion. And that's a big one, for purposes of servitude, debt bondage, slavery, organ sales, or participation in the sex trade. So human trafficking is not only sex trafficking, and it is slavery. Folks who are trafficked do not get the money, and they actually bring in money for their trafficker. And come on, oh, don't freeze on me. There we go. Each year in the United States, 1.2 million children are trafficked. It is the second largest or third largest. I have, since creating this, found another source. Growing crime in the world today. Number one is drug trafficking. Number two is human trafficking or gun trafficking. Not sure which is which. And the third then is either human trafficking or gun trafficking. Nationally, minor trafficking, in other words, trafficking of children under the age of 18, often starts between the age of 12 to 14 in girls, 11 to 13 in boys. My granddaughter was online when somebody started talking with her through a chat room or whatever she had. I don't know what that was. She was 12 years old. 12 years old, 6th grade. In Oregon, 750 were reported trafficked in 2018 to 2019. In County, where I live, 120 were reported traffic. Those are the reported traffic. Most trafficked youth are never reported. And that's the key. You also will find that there's a difference in the numbers that come to us, whether it is coming from Oregon specific by our, the statistics from the Department of Human Services here, or whether it's coming from the National Trafficking Hotline. So these figures are from Oregon. And the other counties, just to share with you, the victims that were identified, Clackamas County had 138, Deschutes 48, Douglas 16, Jackson 27, Klamath 9, Malheur 4, Marion 94, Multnomah 208, and Washington 82. So that adds up to 750. But how many prosecutions were there? 73. So 10%. 73 out of 750 reported being trafficked. This information, by the way, was the most recent complete information in for 2019. So what are the myths of trafficking? Those things we all think it is, and then what is the reality? Number one, always or usually a violent crime. In fact, most trafficking takes place over the internet, and the traffickers use psychological means, tricking, defrauding, manipulating, or threatening victims, either into providing commercial sex or exploitative labor. Through this project, we have become acquaintances with 2 young ladies here in Eugene who have been trafficked. One actually got out just prior to being taken away. Her boyfriend was coming for a visit. He was picked up by the police. She found out he was a level 3 sex offender and had trafficked before. He was grooming her. The other woman was, in fact, kidnapped off the street, thrown in the trunk of a car. So you do have both ways, but it is more common to not be picked up off the street and thrown in the trunk of a car. The myth, again, that all human trafficking involves commercial sex. Worldwide, experts believe there are more situations of labor trafficking than sex trafficking, and the number I have seen has been 52%, 48%. We've seen a couple of other figures, but that's right in the game. It's a 50-something% versus a 40-something%. In the United States, we are much more aware of sex trafficking than of labor trafficking. But that labor trafficking could be happening right in your backyard. It could be happening at the restaurant that you visit. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. The myth that only undocumented foreign nationals get trafficked, and the fact of the matter is thousands of cases of nationals, of foreign nationals who live here legally. They have green cards, they're allowed to work, and they are survivors of both sex and labor trafficking. And one of the big things that keeps them in the trafficked mode is that their trafficker threatens to deport, whether they're legal or not, they threaten to deport them. The next one, to me, is one of the most interesting, where human trafficking really happens. The theory is, or the thought is, the myth that human trafficking only happens in illegal or underground industries. And that's for the most part shady bars, strip joints, etc. But human trafficking cases, and that's both sex and labor, have been reported and prosecuted in industries including restaurants, cleaning services, hotels. I don't have that on here, that's a big one. Construction, factories, and more. And the number one venue for labor trafficking is actually traveling sales crews. So I think of that person that has come to my door multiple times, not the same person, knocking and trying to sell me a magazine. We haven't seen that in the last couple of years with COVID, but that's what I think of when I think of a traveling sales crew. For a labor trafficking, number 2 is domestic work, 3 agriculture, 4 construction, 5 retail. And agriculture, because Oregon has so much agriculture, we have the illegal marijuana grows, we have legal crops, we have strawberries, beans, cherries, apples, all of that. And in order to get workers, of course, very often they are bringing in illegals who then they're told they have to pay back their entry into the country, and they become a slave to their trafficker. Sex trafficking, the number one venue for sex trafficking is online trafficking. It could be any of the chat rooms. The gal who I spoke with that had been kidnapped, she said she was actually trained to go out and traffic. But in addition to that, with the online, she mentioned even things like the Minecraft chat rooms, and of course, TikTok, Instagram, anything, Facebook, it doesn't matter. They all do, as well as Craigslist, those kinds of places. Number 2 is the hotel motel industry. Number 3, other venues. 4, escort services. And the 5th is street-based. So that's the one where they're picking up those children that are living on the streets. The myth is that only women and girls can be victims and survivors of sex trafficking. And the answer to that is just flat out no. Our LGBTQ boys and young men are seen as particularly vulnerable to trafficking. They have been shunned for so long by society, and that puts them in a vulnerable position with a trafficker. Human trafficking involves moving, traveling, or transporting a person across state or national borders. And again, it doesn't require any movement at all. Unfortunately, survivors have been recruited and trafficked in their own hometowns and even in their own homes, where parents have trafficked their children because the parent has an addiction that they need to fund. We know we have children in our schools who are being trafficked. The difficult part is identifying and finding them. The myth that all commercial sex or all prostitution is human trafficking If the prostitution or commercial sex involves a minor, absolutely, that is human trafficking. So any child, any person under the age of 18. If it involves an adult, it's human trafficking if the person providing sex is doing so against his or her will as a result of force, fraud, or coercion. And it's possible that somebody gets into prostitution on their own, and then somebody, a pimp, whatever you want to call the person, a trafficker, gets them into a situation where they are having to they are having to do that. It's required, and they're also having to turn their money over to that individual. As far as prosecution, if the trafficked person consented to be in their initial situation, okay, I'm going to go to work for you. Yes, that's fine. I understand it. Then it cannot be human trafficking or against their will because they knew better. But at any point that they can no longer leave, they are required to turn over their money. That becomes human trafficking, and the initial situation is not relevant to the crime, nor is payment. What is really relevant is their inability to get out through coercion. People being trafficked are physically unable to leave their situations. They're locked in or they're held against their will. Some people stay in trafficking situations for reasons that are far more complicated. Perhaps they get out, or they try to get out and they're on the street and they don't have a place to go. They have no food. They have no money. They lack basic necessities. They don't have transportation. They end up oftentimes going back to their trafficker because in spite of the evils of the trafficking, they have food and they have a place to live. Some are afraid for their safety. Some have been so effectively manipulated that they do not identify at that point as being under the control of another person. And some are afraid for their family's safety. Going back to my friend Rhonda, who was trafficked, by the way, she was trafficked for 8 years. She's been out now for 12. In her case, she was taught to be the trafficker. She was taught to go out and befriend high school girls. Actually, in the restaurants, the McDonald's and the Dairy Queen, right next, about a mile from my house. Why didn't she get out? Because they had Polaroids of her sister and her family. And the comment was, if you leave, they're dead. It's horrible to think, but that kept her in. Labor trafficking is only or primarily a problem in developing countries. And the bottom line is, no, it's here, right where we are in our agricultural area. And as on top of the agriculture, what brings a lot to Oregon is we're on the I-5 corridor between San Diego, the south end, and the Canadian border on the north end. And of course, it extends beyond in both countries of Canada and Mexico. But that's what brings them here to Oregon. Traffickers target victims they don't know. And the reality of them is many have been trafficked by romantic partners, might be a spouse, a family member, or a parent. Everybody is unknown at some point. And so one of the things that traffickers do is they befriend somebody. It might be somebody they don't know, but they spend years grooming that person, becoming the boyfriend who's saying, oh, I can give you this and I can give you that. And they will spend 2-3 years in that position before they finally say, okay, let's go to Vegas. I can do, you can do da, 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 da. And that's where suddenly they cannot get out. Who's the most vulnerable? In one sentence, it's the person that has something inside of them that just doesn't mesh, that just makes them feel like they need more. Maybe they have an unstable living condition. Maybe they've previously experienced violence, sexual abuse, domestic violence. Maybe they've run away. Something's not right at home and they're on the street or in the child welfare system. They may be undocumented immigrants. Maybe they're facing poverty or economic need. Maybe they're addicted to drugs or alcohol and they need to earn that money, even though they don't get to keep 90% of what they earn. Maybe they have a caregiver, family member who has the substance abuse issue, and that's the person who is their trafficker. Anybody can be trafficked. Color of your skin does not matter. Your sexual orientation does not matter. It's general trauma, historic oppression, discrimination, and other societal factors and inequities that create the vulnerabilities. That's what traffickers are trained to look for and take advantage of. There's no evidence that the trafficker either is of a particular race, nationality, gender, or sexual orientation. They could be family members, romantic partners, acquaintances, or strangers, just like the trafficked person are not any one race, nationality, gender, or sexual orientation. Recognizing labor trafficking, somebody might be trafficked. Well, labor trafficking includes situations where people are forced to work because of debt, immigration status, threats, and violence. A lot of times the victims are kept isolated. They're provided a work camp, key method of control, but that's not 100%. Those who are experiencing labor trafficking may be pressured by their employer to stay in a job they don't want but they don't want. They want to get out of. Maybe they owe money to their employer or recruiter or not being paid. Very often, if they are a foreign national to begin with, or even a national, they don't have control of their passport or other identity documents, because without those documents, they can't go anywhere. They're living or working in isolated conditions, cut off from interaction, appearing to be monitored by another person when talking or interacting, threatened by their boss. They may be working in dangerous conditions without proper breaks or proper protections. OSHA would have a fit. Or they're living in dangerous, overcrowded, or inhumane conditions provided by an employer. So that's for labor trafficking. Sex trafficking, again, those are individuals who want to stop, but feel scared or unable to leave. They may live where they work, or they are transported by guards between home and workplace. But they may also be just children or young people living with a parent upon whom they're dependent, and that parent has a substance abuse problem. They have a pimp or a manager in the commercial sex industry, work in an industry where it may be common to be pressured into performing sex acts. And we talked earlier about the fact that that's really low on the list. It's more the online. Have a controlling parent, guardian, romantic partner, or sponsor who will not allow them to meet or speak with anyone alone, or who monitors their movements, spending, or communications. Do want to point out that's not helicopter mom who answers for your children all the time. Sometimes the trafficker will just or the trafficked individual will just defer to the trafficker to answer questions. They don't speak up. They don't look you in the eye. Now, you have to be careful. In many cultures, that's cultural not to look you in the eye. But while they're not looking you in the eye, somebody is answering for them. There may be an age discrepancy between a trafficker and a victim. There may not be. Or there may be a very slight age difference, as Rhonda was probably in her early 20s when she was soliciting high school girls. Very often, a victim carries no ID. They may be wearing inappropriate dress, no personal possessions, and that's right up there with the no ID. Again, the restricted communication, the trafficker speaks for the victim. They may show fearful, anxious, or depressed behaviors. But the bottom line is that every victim presents differently. And yeah, it's hard to tell. I would be the first person to say it's hard to tell. So what can you do to help, either as an individual or as a Rotary Club, is to learn, first of all, about the human trafficking problem. Part of what I'm doing today is to help with that learning. humantraffickinghotline.org. If you go there, you can find anything you want. The signs of human trafficking, many of the things that I've shared with you came from that site and has been reinforced by the individuals who spoke with us in the beginning. And once you learn what human trafficking is to really work on recognizing it. And you're thinking, well, what if I'm wrong? How can I report something if I'm not really sure? And the first thing I want to say is that's okay. Obviously, if it's a dangerous situation, dial 911. If you're not sure, dial the human trafficking hotline, and that's the 888 number that is on your screen. That's a different number than what is in your newsletter. So the newsletter has Homeland Security's number in it. This is for the human trafficking hotline. Both of them are not international, they are nationally recognized phone numbers. You can also text help if you think you or somebody you know is in the situation. Be free, which is 233-733. All of those are 24/7. They are confidential. You do not have to leave your name. You can, they may ask it, but you do not have to. You can call and just get information. So the 888 number, which is, I've kind of chunked it differently than a regular phone number, the 373-7888. I've done it that way to just make it easier, perhaps, for visual learners to look at that. And then finally, the really important thing is to advocate, to get out there, to talk, to stand on a street corner with a sign that says "End Human Trafficking," to speak to your friends, your neighbors. You don't know, you know. Remember, I said it could be parents, it could be an uncle, it could be a neighbor, it could be somebody really high important in your community, as was Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. You just don't know. But to get out and to advocate and to help the local nonprofits that are supporting young ladies who come out of trafficking, or young men who come out of trafficking. The one thing that is not available in our entire state is a house, a home for them to go to anywhere in the state where they can stay more than a day or 2 days. Trafficked individuals don't want to go to a hotel. Most of the nonprofit agencies, either they have homes for children, but not young adults. And then that home would obviously need to have connections. It needs to be a one-stop shopping for services to support that person coming out of trafficking. Rotary, Springfield Rotary, we have posters, flyers, business-sized cards that show the signs of human trafficking in both English and in Spanish. One of my goals is to translate the rest of the materials and get those out as well. But we're willing to share anything with you. We've got television advertising, radio advertising. Yes, they do say Springfield Rotary, but you know what? We're the family of Rotary, and we have no problem sharing any of our materials with you. And then you can do with them as you wish. You can print them or put them online or whatever. And finally, the last thing, I just want to say thanks to the people who helped us a lot. My Rotary Club, humantraffickinghotline.org, which is where we got most of the information. When we first started and we knew nothing, we called in the Lane County DA the FBI. SASS is a local nonprofit sexual assault support services that does have trafficking intervention specialist. We called in Trafficking Law Center, which is at the University of Oregon. Hope Ranch Ministries is a local nonprofit for survivors. Springfield Police Department. And then we've also had the support of the Eugene Police Department, Springfield Police Department, Lane County Sheriff's Department when we did a vigil. We have a large banner that can be used, and we did a big vigil on Gateway Boulevard, which is the worst of the trafficking areas in our area. Also, all of our materials most of our materials were created by the Terrell Group, and Mackenzie River Broadcasting, Bicoastal Media have provided free and low-cost advertising. Same thing with Comcast, KEZI, KVAL and KEZI followed up with great news coverage, and Oregon's Fox provided free advertising online. We actually had an advertisement that went with the National College Football Finals. LTD is our local transportation bus service, and they have signs in their buses as well as in the bus station. Community Credit Union helped us out, and all of you are helping us out. So that's the end of my formal presentation. Let me stop that. And I've been about 30 minutes. Are there any questions? That would be mine.
I've also asked Todd to share on a local aspect. His thoughts. He's with the Grants Pass Department of Public Safety. Todd, would you like to share some thoughts from your perspective as a police officer?
I think everything that Ray had shared, I think is pretty much right on. For us here locally, we know that we have trafficked individuals that come through here. That's why we've partnered with the Southern Oregon Child Exploitation Task Force, which partners with law enforcement agencies in Josephine and Jackson County. So, we know it takes place on both sides of the hill here. So we try to work together to make things less comfortable for people to take part in. Some of the other things that I didn't hear was, like with Craigslist, we have a back page where most people that, go on Craigslist don't even know about. There is some there's just some seedy things that go on the internet that allow these people to live and do what they do to those folks that are victimized. The dark net, those type of issues, those are going on. We also partner with Women's Crisis, Hearts with a Mission, Juvenile Department, and all these other entities to try to make it difficult for them to operate here in Grants Pass. We did also, I think you mentioned Rebecca Bender. She is fantastic. She is from here. And if you've ever heard her story, it's heartbreaking. It's one of those examples of a love interest gone bad in Vegas. And we also know that there's a circuit that these folks travel, like I said, up into Washington, Seattle, back down to Las Vegas, down to Southern California, come up the I-5 corridor right through our city to go down. So the prosecution piece on these are incredibly difficult because you have to get somebody that is willing to provide information. And usually if it's a victim, they don't necessarily believe that you're going to take them out of the environment safe to cooperate with law enforcement. So it is a really difficult barrier to us. That's why we have officers that are specially trained in forensics types of interviews. So we can try to reach out to these individuals who are helping most. So those are just some of the things. Probably a big connection is the between narcotics and the sex trade and the trafficking of humans, because they just go hand in hand. Where there's money to be made, those folks are not going to shy away from also dealing in narcotics while also trafficking individuals. And here for us locally in Josephine County, one of the biggest ones right now is trafficking in labor. We had a huge raid on a property out in the Cave Junction area this summer, the Bar X Ranch, where they had hundreds of migrants from Mexico that were up here. Probably did not know that when they got here, they were not going to be allowed to leave. And so we partnered with, I think we had 10 or 12 different SWAT teams. We had all of the alphabet soup federal agencies that we work with and partner with. And we, hit those locations, and it was not really for the marijuana. It was a human slavery, as indentured servitude type of warrant to try to get those people out of the situation. Anyway, it's here. We're aware of it, and we try to make it as uncomfortable for them as we can, but it is very, very good.
Okay, thank you very much, Todd, and appreciate what you do as well personally. Debbie, you had a question or a comment?
Well, I know I've been in restrooms where there have been posters and with phone numbers and things for victims to possibly be able to call. And I just wondered, and if it would be possible to have any kind of organized force to put more posters like that in gas station restrooms, in public restrooms, restaurant restrooms, and also in Valerie, I was also thinking about the bus service that we have. That might be a place to have some kind of poster available also.
Thank you.
I don't know if you have a junior league in Grants Pass in that area at all. Yeah, if not, because junior league is also working on this. And I know when I went to the airport, I found their stickers behind the doors also of the restroom. And they've already created them in a multiple of languages. If you were to go to jleugene.org, they might, that's their link, jleugene.org. They might be able to share with you their stickers, and then there's a cost to printing them up, but they've already done the hard work. Just want to point that out. I also would like to say to Todd, thank you again for mentioning Rebecca. I heard her speak to Rotary when we had a district conference in Southern Oregon, and then again at the other conference. And we did, I should have had her on the thank you list because she provided a lot of the training materials that we took a class and learned more about what to do. I'm sorry she's not still local because she'd be a great advocate. But thank you for all you do as well, and law enforcement. It's a tough.
Well, it's no longer the old investigations where the police are trying to find the prostitutes. When you come into contact with these people, that took a completely different shift in law enforcement to say we need to treat these people as victims, not potential suspects. So that's what we do, and that's what we hope gets us further in those investigations.
Thank you.
I have a question. I didn't raise my hand, but when people call from that, say the stickers, because like I said, I think it's incredible. Like, where does that number go? I'm just wondering, because at one point, if someone's in a restroom, so it does go local. Okay, that's what I was wondering.
No, it does not go local. And so the best thing for somebody to do, of course, is to text, and then because they may not be local more than 2 minutes.
Yes.
And that's, they're being moved up the freeway or down the freeway. So it's to call, especially the text, I think, is the more emergency one. And that would get somebody, to respond more quickly. And then I'm hoping that it does go to local authorities who pursue it. But I really don't have the full answer. Perhaps Todd does.
Well, what I would say on that is if you suspect something like that is going on, that's a 911 call. And your suspicion should, get us going a lot faster with a 911 call than it would to go through 2 or 3 different text lines.
Perfect. Thank you for saying that. Sometimes we're afraid to bother if we're not sure.
Bring it.
Yeah, thank you.
Park, you have a comment or question?
Yeah, really a question. I have heard a couple times on the news that there's an international symbol for distress. It's like a thumb across the palm and they close their fingers over it. But maybe somebody knows that more accurately than I do. It's supposed to be something where they can sign language that they need help.
I have seen the same information, Park, that you have seen, and you're absolutely right. It would be like a thumb and then your 4 fingers coming down. Or if you're a child, please remember, a child may not make it quite that evident. It might just look like something like that. All I can tell you is that we had somebody up here, there was a 61-year-old man who had kidnapped a young woman along I-5 somewhere along the way. She did that out of the back of her car, out of the back of his car. And the person behind them actually recognized it as a symbol of, I'm in trouble, I can't talk. So, you know, I guess I would say better know it than not know it. And if you see it, somebody's in trouble and they cannot talk. So, I mean, it could be a child in a home standing next to mom and dad, just very quietly going like that, like this. I have to remember to get my hand up there. Or it could be somebody in a car who's, yeah, I'm in trouble, I can't talk. So if you recognize that, it's one more tool. And it did work for this one individual. That was the big news. Oh, I don't know, about a month ago. Yeah.
Well, and it sounds like most trafficked people don't have personal possessions. They don't have a phone. They don't have texting ability.
They do, though.
The posters would.
They may have all of that. So why aren't they just, you know, taking care of it and getting out? And it goes back to the fear and the coercion that the trafficker has done that says, I'm going to kill your sister. I'm going to kill you if I find that on your phone.
Or they're going to throw you into the justice system and you're going to end up in jail. Or
Right.
There's no help from people that we would normally go to for help.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Rebecca Bender has also written a book that I've read called Trafficked. And it's a very, very good book about her story. I've heard her speak at our local hearth here in Grants Pass as well.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells a very moving story. And her daughter is doing well in California in track. A nationally recognized track star. Okay, well, thank you so much. Appreciate that. And we'll now go into Happy Bucks. We do have one birthday. Josie Malloy, birthday is January 30th. Happy birthday to her. And John Schiavone, would you like to take us into Sergeant at Arms and Happy Bucks, please?
Well, John Schiavone is unable to talk.
Oh, really? Okay.
All right, so I will be Sergeant S at Arms today. And Ray, thank you so much. I mean, that was a wonderful presentation, and we all need to be more aware. All right, well, with no presentation here, how about Happy Bucks? What have we got going on? What are we happy and we know it? And remember, we should be raising our electronic hands. Lutz wants us to do that. There's got to be some happiness. Okay, Valerie.
Yes, I'm just very happy. I'm going to give $25 for this wonderful community. I had the honor of having Rebecca's daughter in my class, and she is a phenomenal person. And so knowing that, you know, she came from our community and she's out spreading the word is huge. And I'm very proud of her for that. And I'm very excited about this presentation. I hope, you know, the education gets out there. I have a teenage granddaughter, and I know she spends a lot of time on the internet, and it's kind of frightening, but I think the more awareness we have from all of us, the better we'll be able to help this problem. So there we go. Happy for the community, happy for people who grow up here and go on and do wonderful things. So there we go.
That was a wonderful thing to share too.
Mhm.
Okay, Doug. Rotary Doug.
Yeah, Rotary Doug, yeah. I'm trying to. Okay, I can do two things at once, unmute myself and unvideo myself. I got some happy bucks for Jan Jones and Patty Toronto. They both recently asked me if I could make a couple pieces of yard art, and that gave me the opportunity to dig through my piles of junk I have on the side of my garage, and I get to enjoy myself digging through all that. And I get to say, see, that's why I saved this broken shovel and this rusty ring and this piece of junk metal thing. I can't remember what it is, but I get to weld it all together into something. So thanks, Jan and Patty.
You know what, Doug, that was perfect timing. I have like a little box. I was going to ask you, do you want me to give you some more things? I have like some other junk you can add to your pile.
Yeah, my junk pile is pretty big. I don't know. If it's really special, I'll take it.
Oh, hey, my junk is special junk. There you go.
Yeah, my junk is special junk too.
Okay, Laurel, you have your hand up.
Yes, I have my hand up and I have two $25 happy bucks because I have one daughter who is pregnant and will be having my granddaughter or grandboy in June, and in July, my other daughter is having a baby. So I'm going to have two new grandchildren this year. And I'm very, very happy.
Yay. And you're going to be a busy grandmother. That's pretty
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes.
Getting your
Always
good
the best.
hugging on. Is there anyone else? Okay, Deborah.
All right, I am unmuted myself and everything. I have 30 happy bucks, and some of those happy bucks are, I'm gonna jump on the train along with Doug and celebrate going through junk. As many of you know, Fritz and I are moving from a big house to a much smaller house, and so there's lots of boxes of photographs and papers and whatnot have to be sorted through. And this last week, every day I discovered a little treasure, including my grandparents' naturalization papers from the late 1800s and photographs of where my mom lived when she was born. Anyway, it's been a lot of fun. And then the second part of the happy bucks are our grandson, who is playing for Oregon Crush in Bend, is going to have his first tournament in Medford. And so we'll be able to see him the second week in March. And I'm really excited about that. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. All right, Greg.
I'm coming off Margaret's computer, but I wanted to have 5 happy bucks because even though January is just about over, you remember it is the vocational service month on the Rotary calendar. And one of the things that we get to do sometimes as the semesters change at the high school, Grants Pass High School in January, is do mock interviews for the students of the Career Academy. So I know I saw Debbie Brownell and Valerie Lovelace and several others from our club in doing some of those interviews, because we got to do the Zoom part. The students were in school, and we did the best we could. But the third thing is Jim Huber's inspiration from Theodore Roosevelt. In the past, we have had a vocational service award presentation and used that quote, as Steve mentioned before, with his father for one, but that is a wonderful quote about serving your society. And I will mention also that Rebecca Bender was a former winner of our Vocational Service Award for our club a few years ago for her work against human trafficking. And that gets me to my fifth point, which is to nominate candidates for our Vocational Service Award. The award will be presented March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. So we are now accepting nominations, and I believe Steve has a link in the Navigator for the form. And we'll do that kicking off the nominations here in January, the Vocational Service Month, and then recognizing the recipient in March.
Very good. And we have so many wonderful people in our community. So think very seriously about providing some candidates. All right, Bev.
10 happy bucks because I really enjoyed the presentation today, and I appreciate the many diverse professions we have in our club. And so those are my happy bucks.
Great. Debbie?
Well, so thank you, Greg, for mentioning the mock interviews. And, you know, it's really hard to kind of connect with a student in 3 to 5 minutes. I felt like I was on a speed dating kind of exercise. But it's always amazing the thoughts that they bring up, and it's truly a rewarding experience. So I hope you can all participate sometime. I appreciate Doug Walker so many times, but so yesterday he and Bev put together a social impact committee Zoom meeting, and I appreciate those efforts. And he's been in touch with the other Rotary clubs. We had a program last month from the owner of grocery outlet regarding trying to put together some kind of food distribution system for students who are in need of those kinds of services. And Diane Hoover, who is the incoming president for the Wednesday Club, has agreed to chair a committee to work on putting this together. And there are numerous people in District 7 who are already contributing, and there's a great deal of support there. And I know there were a number of people in this club who said that they wanted to do something. So Diane Hoover, and her email, I think, is dianehoover13@gmail.com. That would be a person to contact to get in on that committee.
Very good. And we know it's much needed. So that's great. Steve Rowe, do you have a happy buck?
I do. I just would like to give $25 for our excellent speaker today. It was really an impactful presentation. I've heard Rebecca speak before, and it is a problem in our community. And I think Debbie's ideas about posters are something we should pursue. So if we can look at that. So, and also just have gratitude for each person in this club. Wow, the things that are going on. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, I'm going to end with happy bucks here. And that is happy 54 bucks for Dawn and Steve, who are celebrating their 54th anniversary today. Who could believe that? We were married when we were born. That's just how that went. But instead of sending him roses, we'll just give it to Rotary. So 54 bucks. Caver.
I just forgot because I got excited. I really did, but I will put up 50 happy bucks for my birthday a couple weeks ago. So that's not what I meant, but that's what I'll do. Sorry.
That's okay.
That's great. Okay, no more happy bucks. Steve, take it away.
Okay. Well, a closing thought for the week, and this is by Mother Teresa. This kind of goes along with today's topic. Human rights are not a privilege conferred by government. They are every human being's entitlement by virtue of his or her humanity. So with that, okay, we will adjourn the meeting.